controversy, opinion, point of view. This is Prime News.
I'm Ryan Smith in for Vinnie Politan, and welcome to Prime News. Well, is Casey Anthony on the verge of making millions of dollars? That's the question as reports are surfacing of bidding wars and big dollar deals. Now, here's what we know. TMZ is reporting that although several networks are competing to land Casey's first post-jail sit-down, both ABC and NBC say they won't pay for it. Meanwhile, TV producer Al Taylor claims that he offered Casey $1 million to talk. And now there are reports of Casey asking $1.5 million for her first interview. But the latest offer on the table, $500,000 to pose naked for Hustler magazine.
She's a really attractive person. You don't realize this because she's been in jail. She was in the courtroom. The clothes that she was wearing, all this. A great hairstylist and makeup artist could have her looking, you know, really fabulous. And the offer that we made to Casey through her attorney, the $500,000 payment's only part of it. We're willing to pay 10% of the profit. So if this thing goes viral, and it could be as big as everybody thinks it was because of how big the trial is, she could make millions, more than's ever been discussed with her in any of the other possible interviews that she would be involved in. They got a lot of things going on, and I don't know what's going to happen, but I know they've got an important decision to make, and if they're going to have, if they want to get their hands on big money, they got to go through me.
All right.
Anything else that they get paid will be chicken feed.
And is Casey Anthony already going back to her partying ways? TMZ reports they've seen new video of her walking off a private jet, holding a beer and making jokes with her former attorney. Listen to their staffers describe that image on TMZ.com.
We actually were able to watch some video of her right after she got out. She got into a private jet. She's getting out of the airplane, and she picks up a half-full Corona beer and just walks out with it and just smiles at the camera.
The TMZ says they were not willing to pay for the video, but is Casey on the verge of getting big bucks for that tape, for her first interview, or for going topless for the camera? Joining me now are Gene Casares, correspondent for In Session on our sister network, True TV, and criminal defense attorney Lawrence Walters. Good to see you both. Now, Gene, let me start with you. I saw Larry Flynt say that if they want the big money, they have to come through me. Is that because he gets the sense that this is her only option, or is there really still a bidding war going on to what you see?
I think he gets the sense that any other offers out there are not going to equal what his could be monetarily. He says $500,000 plus 10% of the profits. And he said that people have just started coming up to him in droves. This is what Larry Flynt is saying, because he said, I never thought of putting Casey Anthony in my magazine because I watched the trial and I believe that she was responsible in some form or fashion, possibly for the death of her child. But he's a businessman and he believes the interest is there and he wants to make money.
All right, and Gina, I understand there's a charity aspect to this as well that he's suggesting?
He said that he hadn't brought this forward, but from the very beginning that they will give a percentage of the proceeds to abused children and helping abused children in this country. He also said that if she refuses to take her clothes off, it's not a deal breaker, but there will not be an article associated with it. It would be a pictorial.
Very interesting. And Larry Flynt also trying to give to charity. I understand that. Now, Lawrence Walters, let's say you're part of her team and you know that there are lawsuits coming up. Maybe the offers, and again, this is speculation, maybe the offers aren't there for the interview. What do you tell her about this?
Well, this is a situation where you have to be very careful how you come out to the public. And while the Hustler interview, and Larry Flynt is famous for making these big dollar offers to people who are in controversial situations, and that may be the most money that she'll ever make if she accepts that offer. But she has to be very careful in deciding, I want to come out and take the one shot and make the most money that I'll ever make out of this, or do I want to take a shot at maybe doing an unpaid interview, making my case to the public, trying to convince the public that she really wasn't responsible, telling what really happened. And sometimes that's the better way to approach it. Go with a Barbara Walters or somebody that isn't going to pay you, but has some credibility and let you tell your story.
And Gene, did Larry Flynt talk about who he made this offer to? Because I remember Jose Baez saying a while ago that he wanted to take a dignified approach with Casey in these interviews or anything she does. But he's also said repeatedly that that's in the hands of Casey, and I can't necessarily tell her what to do.
No, he did not specifically say. Once in the interview, he referred to talking with her lawyer. She's got lots of lawyers, even Todd Macaluso, who was a former attorney on her case, was the one that we believe the plane is owned by and was helping her on and off the plane. But he also said talking to members of her team, members of those representing Casey. So he put it in very vague terms, but he confirmed there had been a meeting.
Okay, and Gene, let's talk about this issue with this bottle of beer that she's apparently drinking on that plane. Has there been any response from Casey Anthony's camp about that assertion by TMZ?
There was one word by Jose Baez. It was solely in response to that video with Casey holding the half-empty bottle of beer, her saying, "I concur," as she's getting off the plane. He said, "Nonsense." That was his response.
All right, so right now, it just seems, Lawrence, that there's a lot of speculation. Even as we talk about the bidding war or the lack thereof, it seems like some may say the money's drying up or she doesn't have a lot of options. But in reality, do you think that there could still be a negotiation going on behind the scenes for that critical first interview?
In my view, there's undoubtedly some kind of negotiation going on. There's a very narrow window of opportunity for her to make a decision, and it's going to be a critical decision. There's talks going on, undoubtedly. Whether it amounts to anything and what she does, we'll all have to wait and see. But I'd be willing to bet my reputation on the fact that there are talks going on.
Okay, and Larry, the legal team and her camp not talking about it, is that the right move here? I think a lot of people are trying to second guess what they're doing. But in a sense, if you were representing her, would you not talk about it until something was done?
Absolutely the right move. You don't want to announce what you're doing, telegraph your punches. You want to try to conduct the backroom deal and surprise everybody with what your decision is. And there's attorney-client privilege going on here, too. You can't be talking about what you're saying with your client and what your client has said to you. So it makes sense that they're not saying to the public what the backroom deals are at this point.
All right, Lawrence Walters, Gene Casares, thank you so much.